Hi, it's Jessie. I'm back again and here for another interesting lesson in iniquity. And if we remember correctly, iniquity is a violation of the right or duty that man is under obligation to do, right? So, in the news today, there are some stories that are upsetting much of America because the Supreme Court set out some ruling in favor that a business was allowed to reject customers on the basis of their sexual preferences. And the argument was down to, is it discrimination, or does the woman have a right to believe what she believes and refuse services to those that violate her beliefs? And this is a tricky one, right? It's a tricky one when we go on the sides, when we say who's right and who's wrong. But you see, the duty of the Supreme Court is to apply the Constitution. And I know there was some accusations, particularly from President Biden, that the Supreme Court is unconstitutional. However, in a democracy, democracy fails if we don't respect each other's rights. So basically, we have a duty to respect the rights of those who do not want to serve us based on our sexual preferences. We have an obligation to respect their rights. And you can say it's discrimination against a protected population, except for sometimes we have to consider what we're deeming a protected population, okay? I was a member of a protected population once upon a time before my disability rights benefits were stripped away, and I was stripped away of not only my rights as a disabled person, but my rights as an American citizen, and no one protested, and everybody jumped on the bandwagon. So I get where we need to say that it's not okay to attack these people. I get the attack that they may have gone through, because I also went through one hell of an attack myself. But eventually, I have to grow and learn what I'm entitled to and what I'm not entitled to, right? I have to grow and learn and recognize where the real problems lie. The real problem is not that I had a disability. The real problem is not so much that people attacked me, though that is one hell of a problem, let me tell you. The real problem is that people didn't know how to act to begin with, you know? And so when we have uncertainty of the law, the laws that are supposed to govern our behavior, our duties and rights as mankind, you know, when we don't have a clear, outlined prescription for what we are to do, then we go all willy-nilly on what we do, and we tend to do whatever everyone else is doing. We jump on bandwagons of things. We run causes, and it's a problem because it turns into some kind of like mob justice, where if you're not like everyone else, you know, if you're not holding their every opinion, if you're not backing their every move, then you are a target to the majority, you know, and there is no protection for you under the law, because nobody has any rights to do anything outside of what the mob is doing. Does that make any sense to you? Do you understand where I'm coming from? Like, okay, I went to grad school, right? In grad school, we're supposed to be educated. We're supposed to, I studied social work, you know, social justice champions. You know, we're supposed to be educated enough to know that we're fighting for um, impoverished people, people who cannot fight for themselves. And yet I was the target of most of my classmates. I mean, this one girl, she would knock me over. She would knock me over every time I walked in the room. She would like come up and just walk past me and bump me in the shoulder with her shoulder. And I'd be like, wow. So there was physical violence involved. It wasn't just, the mental and emotional trauma that they put me through, the mind games that they ran on me. There was physical trauma involved. And it was because somebody painted a target on my back and said, go, get her. And they ran so many narratives. They told so many stories about me that weren't true, that stirred these people up to do violence against me. you know? But nobody considered, I am paying money to be here, the same as everyone else. I have a right to an education, the same as everyone else. That you don't have the right to run mob justice on someone. No one thought about this, and to try and fight it now, it's like to fight it then it was impossible, because when you bring things out, they retaliate, and they retaliate against your children. Okay, they target you with other things that they have within, other weapons that they have within their arsenal, like DCFS, like the schools, like police, like civil courts. They come at you with everything, you know and then they justify themselves like, oh, well, she's not paying her J.C. Penney bill. But they stripped away my income, so I couldn't pay anything. And they have me married, right? I've never been married in my life, but they have me married to my children's grandfather. It makes no sense the way that they did things, you see? And the problem is not that I needed to be part of some protected population to have my rights guaranteed, because nothing was going to protect me from the way that they do justice. Nothing was going to protect me from their organizational structure. Nothing was going to protect me from the campaign that they ran against me. Do you understand that? Nothing was going to protect me. But what would change things is if we taught people that, hey, you're responsible for your actions, that there's this law here, and while you have to respect the rights of others, you have an obligation to govern your own behavior. You have a responsibility to make sure that that other people has rights. I don't know if I'm explaining this right to you or not. It's kind of tricky, and it's kind of like an emotional topic for me. Like way back when they were attacking me, I was suffering with lots of illness, right? I had some kind of aphasia. I can't remember what it's called, but it affected my ability to connect my thoughts with my words, and I couldn't explain things clearly. I couldn't put my thoughts together clearly. You know, it. Imagine, someone gets whooped, like with fists. You see the bruises, you see the swelling. But when someone gets tormented with this kind of bullying, with this kind of mind games, with these abuse of power and privilege, the the marks come out in like physical ailments, psychosomatic symptoms sometimes, or even just my ability to communicate. They put me through so much trauma, and they used that. They knew I couldn't talk, and so they went around and they put narratives out there to everyone. I'm reserved in public places. I've always been reserved. I've always been keeping to myself. But I was especially reserved because I couldn't speak. I was especially reserved because I couldn't comprehend what people were saying to me. And I learned like little tricks, like if I put the closed captioning on the TV, that it helps to retrain my brain a bit in comprehending what I'm hearing, so that I'm able to understand what's going on around me. But it took me like years to be able to communicate the way that I'm communicating right now, you know. And yeah, I could talk the Bible, you know. I could talk about the Bible all day long, but who wants to talk about the Bible? A minister? No, a minister also doesn't want to talk about the Bible. I went to divinity school, and when I wrote papers in divinity school, my feedback on my papers said, "This is nothing that's been done before. Nothing that hasn't been done before." You know. So when you see that, it wasn't just in my social work program where I was targeted and basically oppressed, basically talked down to, belittled, discouraged from pursuing education, from speaking at all. You know, it was everywhere, everywhere, you know? And why did they do that to me? You know, why did they do that to me? They accused me of being a scammer. This is what they told my daughter when she was in like 4th grade. She came home one day and called me a scammer. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm not a scammer. I live with your dad now? Yeah, I do live with your dad now. You know, because I have no choice. But we're not married. We don't sleep in the same room. You know, that doesn't make me a scammer because I had disability benefits. People with disability benefits, let me tell you something, they can have relationships with people. They can keep relationships with their children's father even when they're not married. And you can't make it to be something just because you want to strip away their benefits, right? Because somebody depleted the fund because they wanted to spend it all on some awards that didn't need to happen in the first place. So now you want to preserve the fund by stripping it away from everybody. By what? Making me look like a criminal? You know? There's no protected population that can govern somebody's behavior unless people start doing what is right according to the law. You know, unless we start respecting that democracy requires that we respect the rights of each other, that we can't do violence against somebody just because we disagree with them, that we can't attack somebody just because they're not submitted to us, you know. Covert narcissists, you know, they they attack anything that isn't submitted to them, and they attack anything that could potentially expose them, anything that challenges them, you know. Covert narcissists, you know. It's crazy, not just covert narcissists, sociopaths, really crazy things that they did, right? And I'm saying the law is not going to fix it. You can't make somebody do something this way if you have not taught people all along the ways that you have to respect each other according to the law, that this is what the nation requires, you know, that this is what it means to be an American. And it's like God first, yes, but American right after God, right? So even though you're like a Christian or a Muslim and you don't believe in homosexuality, right? You want to, in other countries, you want to kill those who claim to be homosexual. You know, you have the right to be the way that you are, so long as you respect somebody else's right to choose to be different, you know? It's the way that it is, and to understand that their difference does not give you power to attack them. To understand that their weakness, my aphasia, did not give you the green light to go ahead and attack when you knew I couldn't fight back. You know, it didn't give you the green light. When we start understanding things like that, then we understand why we have protected populations. But we need to understand more that it wouldn't need to be protected populations if we taught people how to govern their own behavior. And I know they say that you can't govern morality, but they're wrong, because you can't govern without morality. And we have a constitution that rules the nation, a constitution that guarantees the rights and freedoms of people, that says, like, you can't take away someone's rights without, you can't even challenge someone's rights without giving them warning. You have a duty to warn, Miranda warning, right? You can't take away their rights indefinitely without cause, without arresting them, without arresting them and putting them on trial, giving them a right to face their accusers, and having a judge proceed over the entire thing. And he doesn't just rule by law, he rules by witnesses that come before him, but the witnesses have to face the person that they're accusing, and their testimony comes under scrutiny. The person isn't just laid out and killed. And we need to go back to the days where we respect that you cannot take away someone's rights without, like, trial. You cannot take away someone's rights. You cannot attack them. You cannot punish them. You can't do any of these things that they did to me without following the law. That you have to be people of the law. You can't go with mob justice, because that's lynching. And I know Trump tried to bring it up, because I said to Trump in one of my comments that this feels like a lynching, and it doesn't feel good. And I know, because I've been through it, when he was talking about Brett Kavanaugh, one of the Supreme Court judges. And I had hoped that he would, like, take the cue and speak about the need to respect law. To talk about, hey, we are Americans, we don't do this to each other. But instead, he came under attack for bringing it up, and the whole thing backfired in his face. And I don't know, I wish that I had a platform that I could speak from, that would reach out to people and say, hey, it's not necessary that we need these protected populations so much, because we need to do some preemptive planning. We need to do some teaching that has relevance, that shapes the nation into being more moral and productive citizens that respect the rights of others. And we need to talk about, like, what do we do when something's immoral? What do we do when the teacher comes to us and asks us to do these things and tells us that we could skate on the assignment for free if we do them? What do we do when the teacher goes to the mom and allows, you do this for me, and your kids don't have to show up for school on time, there'll be no punishment. Oh, and we'll give you a job in the lunchroom. We need to talk about how to handle these things, and we need to point out that, hey, these things do happen, and they're wrong. It's outrageous, it's one of the most horrible things that happen in the world. But there is no law that you can pass that'll say, this is a protected population, you have to do everything they want you to. There's no law that you can pass that says that if you attack these people, we're going to give you a more stiffer crime. Because, with me, I can't even get to the courtroom, and when I did get to the courtroom was fixed. You can't govern lawless people like that. Do you understand? You can't correct things by passing laws like this. You have to start with the children and teach them to be good moral characters, because you do have to live with them. They are going to grow up one day, and you want those children to care about each other enough that when they come into public office, they care about the little guy as much as they do the big guy, that they care how things are structured, and that it works justly, because they care about building a better world for the nation and the people within it, for every person within it. They have some understanding of what it takes to be this. And so when somebody comes and says these people don't matter, they need to work for themselves, they can't have welfare, even though they don't have access to opportunity or the education that they need to get up in life. You need to have some wisdom, because if you don't have some wisdom, somebody's going to turn you some way and disqualify someone else from life. And you're going to think you're doing the right thing because you don't have the maturity or the wisdom or the knowledge to understand that you're being hoodwinked, to understand that you're being made somebody's tool, to understand that you're no longer governing, that you're serving a power out there that does not have the best interest of the nation at heart. You know, you can't fix the problems of the nation by passing these laws that give people special status and think that it solves the problem, because you can't. What do you think you are, a king? You think you can just like pass an edict and it is like everybody's changed, right? It doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. But you know what does work is teaching people how to live successfully in a country, not telling them what to think, telling them how to think of themselves as American citizens, how to approach one another. You know, what kind of conversations would you be having if you were people who cared about who you were as a nation, not just who you were in relation to, oh, I don't know, Kim Kardashian or whatever social media influencer or, you know, media star that's out there that people emulate and want to be like, you know. But to understand that what makes you a good person, you know, what defines you is how you treat others. You know, it's not the booty injections, you know, it's not. It's not the Botox. It's not the lip injections. It's not the makeup you put on. It's not even how you style your hair. But what defines you is how you treat other people and how you relate to them, you know? And I don't know, I spent much of my life in isolation, and I'm still in isolation, but for the few people that have had the pleasure of gracing my presence, they'll tell you I make the best banana bread you ever ate. I make the best cookies you ever ate. I make one heck of a German chocolate cake. I make some good butter cake, you know. They'll tell you, because when you're my friend, I feed you, you know. I think of you, you know. I I stop and ask how you are when I walk my dog. I tell them, oh, hey, you know what? I made this today, and I knew I was going to run into you, so I brought it with me. Here you go. Have a good day. And, you know, people tell me I'm not normal. But you know what? I should be. It should be the norm that we care about one another, you know? And this is my response. This is all these things that they put in me that would make anyone want to hate the world and be out here spewing toxic stuff about how everyone needs to die, you know. And though I do say that some people don't need the power that they have, or I do say that some things do need to be defunded, you won't catch me. You won't catch me trying to take someone's life from them. You won't catch me being a narrow-minded, toxic person. I'm not petty. I'm not petty, and I'm very well aware that some of the people that I pass out cookies to also spoke against me, and I don't understand why they would do what they do. But you know what? I do understand, because I got this education, you know, that people will do what they're asked to do by authority, you know. People will do what they're asked to do if the authority makes somebody sound bad, you know. And me confronting them and whatever, saying, how could you do such a horrible thing, that won't solve anything. But me dropping them off cookies and being, you know, me, letting them know me for me, it's different, you know. It lets them know, hey, I'm a person, my life has value, I have things to contribute to this world. My one neighbor wants me to open up a bakery, but I'm like, dude, I can't stand on my feet that long, you know. I can't do math anymore, you know. Some days my cookies, they're connected to my mood. So if I'm in a bad mood, you don't want to eat my cookies. Trust me, they will be flat and brown and disgusting. And it doesn't matter, I make them the same way, but it's something about working with my hands that whatever I'm feeling is going to come into my food. And mostly I try to stay in love, you know. I try to stay with God and faith and love and hope, hope that things will be different. But some days, the the devil gets me and I'm sad. Some days the devil gets me and I'm just frustrated with life. I'm just frustrated with everything that goes at me. And on those days I can't make anything. Even though I make the best cookies you ever ate in your whole life, catch me on a bad day and I can't do anything, you know? I had years where I couldn't do anything. It's pretty bad, right? When I was in grad school, you know, that last semester there, oh, it was bad, and it was bad for a long time after that last semester. I basically I couldn't walk, I couldn't see, I couldn't make anything. I burnt everything. Everything tasted bad, even if it wasn't burnt. You know, things that people do to you, it has an impact on you, even if it doesn't leave a mark on the outside. It leaves a mark somewhere, and people don't understand that. They think nobody will know. They think that they're doing no damage. They think that they can say, oh, she's got this over here, but hey, guess what? I'm not married. I've never been married. And when you stripped away my benefits, he had a girlfriend. You know, when you stripped away my benefits, he was not the person he is today. You know, he's had to change a lot. But when they took away everything, man, I thought I was going to die. And when they were attacking my kids, I thought, just let me die so they'll leave my kids alone. And I asked him if he would just take care of the kids. Just take care of the kids. And he was like, no. No. You know, you put all this on people. And you have to understand that you don't have the right to put this on somebody, no matter what you think of them. You know, no matter what they're doing, no matter what somebody else says about them, that you don't have the right to do this stuff to people, because it's murder. And you maybe don't understand, because you took my life, but you didn't take my breath. You think if I have breath, I still have life, but I have breath where I can't do anything with it. You understand? So it's like this decision today with everybody up in arms. If you want a solution on how to solve this problem, teach people about their obligations and duties to each other. Teach them that when they treat people a certain way, it's murder and there's no justification for it. That you can't justify your actions by someone else's actions. There's no justification for it, because what if what you think about them isn't true? One of the things that they said about me when they wanted to cut me down, one of the rumors they told everybody I was a lesbian. How do I know this? Because one of my daughter's friends, her mother, was hitting on me and telling me I shaved my legs for you. She made me really uncomfortable with all the hitting on me that she was doing, and I didn't understand why she was doing it until a little while later, and then I realized, oh, they're framing me for being a lesbian, But it's like you create these spots where we have the nation divided, so you know that if you put someone in this box, they're going to be discriminated against by some, but not publicly in the dark. So you put this label on them, and you know it's murder when you do it. You know it's murder when you do it, and it's why you do it, because you can use it to move people. But when we understand that we can't act on things just because, Now this lady, she has a right to serve or not serve, because that's within her rights, But I didn't hear her saying that she had a right to attack somebody because they were gay. I didn't hear that being any part of the argument, to say that somebody has a right to attack somebody because they were gay. It's not. You don't have a right. You don't have a right. You have a right to govern your own behavior. But as it relates to me, you have a duty to respect my own rights to govern my own behavior, So don't, it made me think that these people who are out here championing these rights, if they really cared about rights, then they wouldn't have been going around slandering my reputation, telling people that I was gay. If they really cared about protecting people, they wouldn't be going around stirring up trouble, giving me a false identity, because they knew that people have issues with this identity. And these were the social justice champions, right? It's crap, you know? We can't deal with problems like this. We really can't. We can't deal with problems by saying what people have to okay and what people don't have to okay. But we can deal with problems by saying that, hey, you don't have a right to hurt somebody. She has a right not to serve you, but you don't have a right to hurt somebody. You don't have a right to put someone in a box and think that it's okay to target them and attack them and slander their reputation all over town. You know, you don't have a right to do things to people, you know, and that's basically what I'm saying. So I I hope that I'm clear here. I hope that, you know, we start changing the narrative and start looking at our problems from another perspective, because we're not going to solve them by trying to say everyone has to approve or disapprove. We're not going to solve them that way, but we're going to solve them by defining who we are as a nation and respecting the Constitution as individuals, not just as a Supreme Court, but as individuals. We're going to learn our rights and our responsibilities, our duty, and our obligations, you know. We're going to learn how to treat each other within the Constitution, because if we don't, you know, like Lincoln said, quoting the Bible, a nation divided cannot stand. A house divided against itself cannot stand. So if you care about your nation and you want to succeed,